Welcome to my show. I'm a guest here. Her name is Leslie Juvin-Acker. Mrs. Leslie, how are you doing, ma?
I'm so good. Thank you so much.
All right, ma. Firstly, you are a coach. You are also an author. Can you please, ma, discuss more about yourself and how you are doing currently now, ma?
I have been a coach since 2008, and I have worked with every kind of person you could possibly imagine: rich, poor, man, woman, disabled, empowered, every kind of person you could imagine to help them achieve their goals. And in the process of helping people achieve their goals is to help them become the person they've always wanted to be. And that person is who they truly are. So, in an interesting way, my job has always been to help people become the fullest version of themselves. And as a result of coaching all these people and coming to learn the lessons that we have learned together through the coaching process, I began to notice common themes about emotional intelligence, about spirituality, about purpose and authenticity. And those lessons became very obvious to me and demanded that I put them down, distill them into a book form, and share them with the world in a medium that is not only accessible but affordable, because most people can't afford 300 bucks an hour for coaching, but they can afford a $12 book and to sit down and learn everything that I have learned to make an enriched life. The good life is what I call it. So that's been my journey of being a coach and then translating everything I've learned into book format.
That was where I want to go to. If you've written any book and if you're also planning on releasing more book in the coming future, Mrs. Leslie.
Yes. So I have published 6 books so far on the subjects of money psychology. That one is The Money Formula. That one came from helping people overcome their limiting financial blocks that stem usually from childhood. And people think about money and they feel bad. And my journey of helping people with money psychology is to help them think money and feel happy. And then continuing along that vein of limiting beliefs, emotional intelligence, we published other books in the realm of emotional intelligence. It's Engineering Your Mood. I published another one called It Pays to Be You, which is all my experience and stories and questions from coaching in the action sports industry, surf, snow, skate. And I published another one, which was a job search and career change workbook along the same vein, It Pays to Be You, which is all 15-minute or less worksheets. And then I published another one called Windows of the Soul, which is a fiction book based on short stories of what it feels like to stand in the feet of somebody else's life and learning empathy and compassion and hard hitting subjects like the Holocaust and the Civil War. And then my most recent book is called La Liberacion, which is a romance novel, a spicy one that is on the theme of, romance and feminist subject matter, like, woman's bodily autonomy and marriage and her financial autonomy. And so I talk about challenging subjects in a way that's easy for people to understand, easy to digest, and easy to apply. So not only am I a coach, but I'm an educator, and I love helping people transform their lives through storytelling and giving them tools to make their lives better and to get in touch with their true self.
That is very, very lovely. Thank you so much, Mrs. Leslie.
Yeah.
Firstly, I would like to ask, in your understanding, what do you think is spiritual healing? And how do you think it relates to energy alignment, ma?
So for me, in my experience of doing energy psychology and energy work with people is that It's releasing from our subconscious mind all of our false assumptions about what life is, who we are, and what life is supposed to be. So, for example, if you think money doesn't grow on trees or money is difficult to obtain, and that's your assumption, that's how you go through life, then you create in your experiences that reflect that assumption. So healing for me is letting go of everything that you believe that is false, and the process of discovering the truth that money is easily accessible to you, that the universe is always giving to you, and that with your hands wide open you can receive wealth and health and abundance. Health, for example, is our natural state of being. So if we assume that there's something wrong with me, I'm broken, I'm ill, I'll never get better, and it goes down to that fundamental belief that there is a power outside of me that decides what state of mind and physical being I am in, then you're always going to feel like you'll never get better because somebody else has to decide and make that decision for you. So the process of healing is letting go of everything that is false and allowing yourself to live by everything that is true. And that process of inquiry of what do I believe? What do I assume is true? Is going to help you take a good look at yourself and let go of all those false assumptions about life. And the energy alignment in the physical is a reflection of everything that you assume to be true on an emotional and psychological level. So you do have to eat well, you do have to exercise, you do have to take your vitamins and medicine when you need it to align with that, to correct that. So we're not saying, oh, just think happy and you'll feel immediately better. No, it's about thinking, and action is what your thoughts and assumptions are in motion. So as long as you align the body, the soul, and the physical, you can express physical health as well.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Leslie. And what are some common signs that someone's energy is misaligned, ma?
The most common sign is that you don't feel good. When you don't feel good and you're physically unwell and your mind is racing and you're just feeling not like yourself, that's when you know, uh-oh, there's something that I am thinking on a deeper level, on a subconscious level, that I'm assuming that is true, that is actually false, that is causing me to feel unbalanced and unwell. So if you notice yourself go, I don't feel like myself, that's it. Bing, bing, bing. You're feeling like somebody else. You're feeling like a smaller version of yourself, an unhealthy version of yourself. And that's when you need to start going, okay, if I don't feel like my true self, if I feel like this miserable version of me, then it's time to correct my thinking, correct my actions, and to get down to what I am choosing that's allowing me to experience discomfort and disease, and to discover what in this feeling of not being well is teaching you about life, about yourself, and to take a moment and take some time to nurture yourself, to love yourself, to listen to yourself in order for you to reveal the truth and to shift into that, which is the healing process, shifting from a place of discomfort to a place of comfort and naturalness, which is health and well being and vitality.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Leslie. I do not personally know if meditation or mindfulness play a role in energy alignment, but how do you think meditation or mindfulness plays a role in energy alignments, ma'am?
Well, Edgar Casey, who is the most verified psychic medium in the world, said in a reading once that meditation is attuning to the creative forces within. And that means that there is, at the essence of your being, an intelligence, a knowledge, a source of wisdom that knows exactly what it is you need to be healthy, what you need to do to live a joyful, loving, peaceful life. And so meditation is quieting your mind and stop actively thinking and talking to yourself and distracting yourself with entertainment and drama of the world, retreating from that and attuning your attention, almost like listening to the soft, still, quiet voice within you that is guiding you, that if you will let it, will guide you into creating a healthy life. Now, you can do that by retreating from the life and going in your garden and gardening. That's what I do. Painting, writing, doing something that allows you to express this inner force within you to reveal to you what it's trying to say. So, prayer, in a way, I kind of contrast that. Prayer is talking to the universe, telling it what you want and what your heart desires. Well, meditation is the inverse of that. It's listening to the universe, listening to your spirit, listening to the oneness that connects us all, and attuning yourself to that. And when you go there through meditation, you're attuning yourself to wisdom, to the forces within you that will move you to take the actions that will improve your life and that of others.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Leslie. And what are the biggest misconception people have about spiritual healing and energy alignment, ma?
I think the biggest misconception actually comes from the spiritual community. Energy healing is also medicine, it's vaccines, it's surgery, it's all the things that the process of the scientific method over the last 1,000 years has revealed to us. It's science. Science is a way of revealing what is unseen: gravity, electricity, universal forces. So my thing that I would say from the people who are too woo-woo and too into the metaphysical needs to understand that spirituality can also be balanced with the practical side of life, the physical side of life. So modern medicine, modern scientific research, looking at the ways we measure and apply all the unphysical, unseen to the physical. So I would say that would be the biggest misconception is of course spirituality is scientific. If we separate those things and we create this wall between us, then we're just saying, oh, well, everything that's spiritual is unseen. That's false. Everything that's spiritual is seen. The ancient books of, for example, the Hermetica says there's this question of why did God become physical? And, Hermes asked that question. And Atum says God became physical so God could experience and see itself. And God is love, and love takes infinite forms. So to say that God and spirit is not physical, that is false. And the way that we can experience that and measure it and understand it is through science and the scientific process and the process of inquiry, and to test these forces of nature that are not seen: wind, sun, energy, all of these things. That's how we get to really experience in the physical on this earth plane God and the universal forces. So that would be the biggest misconception, is that spirituality, God, is not scientific, and it's not through applied sciences. It absolutely is.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Leslie. And I possibly know, due to your coaching experience and the years you've, put into this work, you definitely have some success stories that the listeners or the audience will really personally learn from when it comes to spiritual healing. So can you please share, any client success story that's really highlights the transformative power of energy alignment, ma'am?
The biggest thing was I was in my studies and I was studying for law school. And in my office, I had seen a vision of a friend who I hadn't spoken to in a while. And I texted this friend and I said, hey, I have this vision of you. What's going on? And this friend says, well, call me later. I'm at the hospital. So I call this friend, and the friend says, hey, I hate to tell you, but I have stage 4 cancer. And I'm getting an intuitive message. And I said, yeah, you created that. Why did you create that? And this person started crying and said, I don't believe that my partner loves me. And I said, well, I asked the question very sternly. Spirit's asking, this is inquiry. Well, how has your partner been since you got the cancer? Well, we have never been happier. We have never been more in love. And I know they love me. And I said, well, you can uncreate it now. You don't need it anymore. Because this person was willing to kill themselves because of this false assumption that their partner didn't love them. But the truth of the matter was they did. And when this person learned this truth, it changed the way they think now. It's not just about understanding these things, it's about the physical. You've created something in the physical. So if you create it in the physical, you have to uncreate it in the physical. So I said, well, now you know that this assumption is false. Now you need to go take your medicine. But I have coached in the pharmaceutical industry for many, many years, scientific researchers, regulatory affairs, all these things. And I said that what scientists have taught me is that there are kind of keys inside of yourself. You shut off the key to health and wellness, the biological neurons and the physical parts of you. Turn on the key, open up the receptors inside of you to receive the medicine, to receive the flow of energy, and open it up. Go finish your medication, finish your medical treatment. But remember, you created this and you can uncreate it. And so I got off the phone with that friend and I heard voice say, the still small voice say to me, I will heal her. And when I do, you are going to quit coaching and you're going to follow me. Oh my God. I was like, what do you mean? I got to be financially dependent on spirit? Who's going to pay my bills? Because I was billing $300 an hour at that time. And lo and behold, a couple of months later, I get a text message from this friend saying my blood tests are clear. I don't have cancer. I'm in remission. It's all good. So that's an example of spiritual healing in conjunction with physical healing. That physical and emotional and spiritual all works together. And when we create something in the physical and we make ourselves suffer, because that's what this person did, was make themselves suffer. You have to go through the whole process of uncreation, physical illness, emotional, and then the spiritual, which is the mind. So that's an example. It's one of the most powerful ones. And as a result, I did retire from taking money from coaching. And financially, since then, Spirit has been providing for me. And in a weird way, that was like spiritual healing because I no longer depend on my clientele for money. I rely on the divine economy. So that was a fun and interesting experience for me.
The story looks like a wow. It's like an
Yeah.
unimaginable story. That is very, very big. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Thank you so much, Mrs. Leslie. And I also hope the lady is doing fine today. She's doing fine, right?
Yeah, doing great.
All right. I'm so
Very
glad.
healthy.
I'm so glad for that. Lastly, what advice would you give to someone who feels stuck energetically and professionally?
I would say if you feel stuck, it's because you are trapped in habitual thinking. It's our attention is fixated on something and it keeps replaying. We call that looping in energy psychology. You're looping on the same thought, the same feelings over and over again. So the way to get out of looping is to start thinking and feeling and turning your attention to something new. So if you feel stuck, honestly, is you need to turn on helping others, being of service to others, loving others, and stop focusing so much on yourself. Because most people who are stuck are just stuck on themselves. And the problem with being stuck on yourself is that the individual ego is very limited. You constantly meet the limitations of your own self every single day. And so when you start turning your attention of how can I be of service? For me, I have a rule: 100 acts of love a day. Acts of love for my community, acts of love for myself, acts of love for my friends, acts of love for my pets. I commit myself to doing 100 acts of love a day. And boy, oh boy, would you be surprised to see that when you love yourself, you do things like exercise and eat well and go to sleep and get a shower and nurture yourself. That's acts of love. When you're doing that, you're meeting people and you're hiring them to help you and you're giving jobs. So that's an act of love. Asking for help from somebody like a therapist or a counselor or a doctor, that's letting somebody love you. So you're loving them by showing up to give them money and support, and they're loving you. So there's always this engagement and this flow of love in your life. So in my practical experience, the people who are the most stuck in life are the most selfish and self-centered. So the process of becoming other oriented and oriented towards loving yourself, true love, not self-pity, not regret, truly loving yourself and being honest with yourself, that's an act of love. These are the things that you could do to immediately start shifting. And I talk about in engineering your mood. My second tip is if you find yourself feeling trapped in a mood, an emotion, or psychological state, you can simply ask yourself, what is the opposite of what I'm feeling right now? So I like to say frustrated. The opposite of frustrated is progress. Well, what would progress feel like in my life? Well, I'd get a lot of collaboration. People would be helping me. Solutions are coming immediately to my mind. I'm getting up. I'm doing exactly what I need to do. I'm feeling free. I'm moving forward. And I'm seeing things happening before me. So you immediately start to use your attention, use your imagination, use your energy, use your mind to start shifting yourself from a state of frustration to progress. So that's how you start moving your attention from this limited self-centeredness to expansion, to this connectivity, this unity with everyone else, and start engaging in acts of love. Love is the only force in this universe. It is the only power. It is the only reality. And so when we step into that state, we realize, okay, I've been limiting myself in this false imaginary world. And now I'm going to step into the real world, which is the world of love. And that is the most healing and freeing experience we can ever have.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Leslie. Self love is a very, very important thing in someone's life. Thank you so much, ma.
You're welcome.
Lastly, there's a question I normally ask, ma. From the ancestors, from the forefathers, there are a lot of things that exist, really happens during our ancestral time that is missing in our time today. If there is anyone or anything you would like to bring back to our time today, what do you think that thing will be, ma?
Honestly, I have reflected on this lately, and I'm so glad you asked this question. For me, it's the concept of seasonality. Honoring the seasons. We live in San Diego, and a lot of people think we don't have seasons. We absolutely do have seasons. People think sunny San Diego all the time, no seasons. We do have seasons, and seasons are a way to go with the flow of the universe, of this planet. And there are times when we work hard and we're fully engaged in a project. And then there are times where we step back and let everything that we've planted grow and germinate and not interfere with that. And then there are periods where we rest and we don't do anything and we reflect and we enjoy and we be at peace. And I find in America that we're constantly in this process of working, 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 working. We don't allow things to grow and we don't allow ourselves to rest. And so, from my experience in coaching, we tend to burn ourselves out. And burnout is how we become resentful and sad and depressed and tired. So, if we could acknowledge this sense of seasonality in our life, that in this season I'm going to be working hard, and that season I'm going to rest, and that season I'm going to take it easy and let things work out for me, and have this seasonality attitude. The Bible talks about that. To everything there is a season. It's not just that everything comes and it goes. It means that there's a time for activity, there's a time for relaxation, there's a time for reflection, there's a time for letting life work for you. I would say if I could bring that back for people so they could enjoy their lives and their families and themselves and everything they've done, that would be a gift I would give to people, is the concept of seasons.
Mrs. Leslie, I personally want to thank you for speaking on the topic on spiritual healing. And wait, the way are you a Chinese woman?
I am a Filipino American.
Okay, okay, because you sound more like, this way. That was why I had to ask. I want to sincerely thank you for your time, for speaking on the topic of spiritual healing. Thank you so much, Mrs. Leslie.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me on and taking the time to reach out with me and sharing this message with your listeners. And if anybody wants to contact me, they can find me at my website at lesliejuvenacker.com.
All right, ma. Have a wonderful day, ma. Bye bye.
Bye.